I just look at it sometimes too. I just think people were so sick of the 80-year-olds, right? At least I look at JD Vance. I mean, hell, he's even younger. I always feel like a president should always be about 50, 55, right? And he's like 40. But I
Why do
just don't
you
want 80-year-olds. I don't want 80-year-olds, even if they're good. I just don't want
No,
'em. I'm
I don't
sorry.
either.
I'm an
I'm
ageist. I'm an
fine with
ageist.
look, we have evolved with, with nutrition and medicine. I'm fine with a 70-year-old, like 75 even. But there's something about you get into 80s and you look at like the curves, like if you're an actuarial, like the death rates, the rates of like major disease, it just takes off after 80 to a degree where I'm just not comfortable with that risk. Like
Sure.
I've said it before. I think we should have, and it'll never happen, but I think we should have an age limit for president and for Congress. I think if you're and it should be 80. In my opinion, it should be 80 years old. Supreme Court too. After that, mandatory retirement when you hit 80.
So, could you run for president at 80 and then be there till you're 84 in your plan?
No,
In
no,
your concept of
my
a plan?
and my yes, I have a concept of a plan. Well, I would say I do it one of two ways. You couldn't run for a term that would end prior to your or after your 80th birthday. So
Okay.
if the term, so you couldn't be 80 in office, or the other way to do it is just say when you're 80, you have to retire. So you can run when you're 77 or 78 or 79, but the day you turn 80, mandatory retirement. If you're in Congress, if you're the president, you hand it over to the vice president the day you hit 80 years old. We just can't take the chances. We just can't take a chance with someone that old in a very important position. I mean, how many Dianne Feinsteins do we have to see? I mean, there's so many people over the years that have just not been. I mean, Biden in some ways is the least of compared to some of these other. I mean, they were wheeling Feinstein in for. It was really sad. It was sad at the end, and that's just. I mean, God, there are 100 of them. Like that's it, and two of them from her state, representing 40 million people.
Yeah, I agree with you in theory, but I would just say that, 99% of the time I agree with you. But there just are people that age differently, right? I mean, there is that
Oh yeah,
80-year-old out there that's really, really sharp. So I would be okay with it, but man, I mean, there's
Warren Buffett. I
sure.
mean, absolutely on it. He's in his 90s. I mean, he's a genius. Like what but here you have to play the percentage. It's the same reason you don't like let a 33-year-old be president. Like there are 33-year-olds who could do it, I'm sure, who would be great. But we have an age, limit and an age minimum and maximum for reasons. And you could do other things too. Like you could still be in the cabinet, you could be an ambassador, you could do all kinds of things like in government to serve. But I just think of those important elected positions. I personally would cap it out at 80.